mute your mic for a second while he does it. There you go. Okay.
Hello, everyone. I am Sanji Himura, joined today by Mr. Lord Crocosquirrel.
I breathe quietly.
Today we have some very special guests. I would like to introduce to you today Mr. Danny K. and Mr. Green Elite. They are the hosts of the Next to Nothing podcasts. Gentlemen, why don't you briefly give a 30-foot overview of what you do and why you do it?
Do you want me to take this, Green? Yeah, so we are a podcast for gamers on a budget. We are live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Twitch. We also have another co-host named RevSpen, so shout out to him. He wasn't able to join us today. We review games, we review services and other products, and talk about it in the context of, is it worth spending your money on? We also talk about news and current events in gaming that affects how you spend your money. So we talk a lot about loot boxes, we talk some taxes and stuff like that. And we're also found on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, gentlemen. We're going to have a triple play of topics for you today. Let's start with the big news of the week. Nvidia being worth more than Intel for the first time in recent memory. The company is now worth $251 billion compared to Intel's $248 billion. I'm sorry, I read my notes incorrectly. Gentlemen, what does the market have to? What do you think the market has to say? That the CPU versus GPU debate.
Green, you're more of the expert on this than I am, so I'm going to toss it off to you first.
Yeah, I mean, the market has been swaying heavily towards GPUs for a while now, versus the CPU market, especially with AMD really getting a real hold on the budget and value per dollar, in terms of the CPU market itself. So, I'm not surprised that Nvidia has actually come up over Intel. As far as I'm aware, Nvidia doesn't do much with CPU working.
No,
I know they were looking into it, and honestly, it just doesn't surprise me. I think it's been coming for a while now, especially with Intel's lack of wanting to innovate more and more, which actually gave AMD the sneak up when it comes to CPUs.
Yeah, because
last year.
Yeah, especially because AMD innovated the CPU market with the Infinity Fabric. Gentlemen,
gentlemen, if I might poke my nose in here for about 15 seconds, there's another reason. Not just the CPU market is evening out and Intel's losing market share, but you got to think about Bitcoin miners. Most of them run those things strictly off the GPUs as opposed to using the CPUs to kind of sort things out afterwards. Most of the work is done by GPUs, and people are buying these things in horrifying numbers.
Right, and
which is why GPU prices stay high for as long as they do. Okay, I shut up now.
No, you're good. So what does the while the AMD does have a predominantly market friendly Infinity Fabric, what does Intel's lack of, I'm sorry, I'm not really a technical guy, but what does Intel's lack of innovation, does it cripple the PC gaming market at all?
I think the fact that everyone that there's always going to be diehard Intel fans and diehard AMD fans. The issue that I see with it right now is the fact that Intel is extremely high priced for what it actually is and what they come out with.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where, like, if someone new is coming into the PC market, more than likely they're going to choose AMD versus Intel, just because the fact that it is a lot more budget friendly, a lot more budget performing. So yeah, I definitely think it does put a strangle on Intel's sales, that that they come out with a new line which is just an extremely marginal increase of what they had last year or the year before, but try to market it at damn near double the price as AMD's parts. So that's yeah, I would say it definitely increases that awareness to the market.
Okay.
And I can attest to that. When I built my PC, which I was talking on Crocosquirrel's program yesterday about, this is definitely a rig that is seeing its day. But when I built this rig, Intel was kind of the only thing marketing and word of mouth wise that seemed worth it. And now, after these many years and kind of just being stagnant, AMD is definitely top of list. I consider it way more, and that could have just been, this is my first PC that I've ever built, so it could have been just first timers ignorance. But as I've gotten deeper into the space and over these couple years with some of these AMD products coming out, it's definitely, you don't see as many people die-harding for Intel right now as you used to, especially on forums and other websites when you're doing your research.
All right. I'm going to put up a poll in the next little bit. So let me raise the question, since we're all streamers here. If you had the option to build your streaming rig for the first time as of today, would you go AMD or Intel, or maybe someone else?
I'm currently actually building a new stream PC strictly for streaming, and I have chosen AMD simply for the fact of the price performance, and then the multi-threading that comes with AMD, like the 2700 and the 3700, even the 3600, is marginally better than the Intel offering of the same price range. On top of the fact that they even have a strong lead in gaming, so yeah, it'd definitely be Intel, or definitely be AMD for me. If it was like my dream PC, I'd definitely go with the Threadripper, but I mean, that's over excessive and not really in my price range. But yeah, I'd definitely still be sticking with AMD.
All right, chat. While I do a thing, I'm gonna post up the poll right about now. So please answer the poll, and we will get the results of that poll at the end of the show today. Let's see here. Let's basically weigh in on something that is near and dear to me. Pro-consumer moves, gentlemen. Microsoft announced announced to publishers to not sell the next gen upgrade as paid DLC. The move comes in the heels of Microsoft Smart Delivery for the Xbox Series X, to some publishers not using the Smart Delivery system that Microsoft set out for upgrades to the next gen systems. Gentlemen, is the idea of giving away the next gen copies of video games a smart idea?
I would say so. I think it also lessens consumer confusion on the product. When you start adding all sorts of extras and DLCs and add-ons to a product, and you have, essentially every time you add something to a product, you create a new listing, you create a new SKU for it. And so when you have more SKUs or more listings of a particular product with all these different add-ons, it just creates consumer confusion. If I have to spend more than an hour trying to suss out what version I'm getting to make sure I'm getting the right version, I think that's a little too much for a piece of media. So I do think that it's a pretty good idea to say either sell the copies as the next gen or the current gen, and make sure
when you do upgrade
to amount of listings.
Yeah, when you do upgrade, so that way when you do upgrade to the next gen, it would already be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because I know that there's a lot of talk about the NBA 2K 21 with the Mamba Forever edition, and how it's like $100 with one version being current gen, and then one version, then you get like a copy of the next gen. Which, again, if I'm looking at like, okay, so does this collector's edition have the Mamba Forever add-on to it, or does it not? And I think it's just a massive ball of confusion for consumers.
Right. Speaking of NBA 2K11, the publisher 2K announced that if you buy the next gen console and you buy NBA 2K11, you're going to pay $70 for it. Too much?
We talked about this on our show last week. I'll let Green put his feelings out there first.
I personally think it is, but like when it comes to different video games like that come out maybe once every 6 years or so, yeah, I would pay an extra $10 for it, but definitely not for something that is essentially a copy and paste game every year. No, I don't think so. They'd have to actually physically show that they're doing something completely different for me to want to spend that much money on essentially the same game. So yeah, I think it's too much.
Yeah, I'm very much in that boat too. This is an annual release. They've proven in the past that there's not much difference between any of these, annual releases. I know a couple years ago they released a game and they still had NBA 2K19 stuff in for the 2K 2020 version of the game. Another thing that kind of irks me about this particular move is these games are subsidized, at least in part, by product placement, microtransactions, and they've even tried in-game advertising. So I'm kind of confused as to why all of a sudden the development has to go from $60 when you're subsidizing the game this much, with other purchases and other ways to pay for that development.
And I can answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can answer that question. Not that I think that their annual rescoop is doing anybody any good, except of course they shut the servers down on the previous year within about 2 weeks of the new one coming out. But what happens here is that a large part of the advertising revenue that they get for the product placements, that winds up going to the NBA. They're paying horrifying amounts of money
for licensing.
for the licensing. I think 10 years is like $1 billion or some shit. It's horrifying.
Sounds like they need to renegotiate that.
No,
Not
I
making us pay
don't
for it.
disagree at this point. I do not disagree on any level, but I think what this is a test case because the base retail price for a game hasn't changed since the PlayStation 3 era, since the beginning of the PlayStation 3 era. So you're looking at $60 for a video game. They tossed that out there. Everyone's like, yeah, okay, $10 is $10. Fuck it, I don't care. If 2K20 sells the horrifying, or 2K21 sells the horrifying numbers they want, at 70, still at $70, then everybody else is going to pick up on it because more money and we can keep microtransactions. The microtransactions, the season passes, all this other stuff, we get to keep it, and we get to charge the poor bastards extra. Yeah, that's probably going to be a thing.
I don't necessarily remember
that kind of money. They don't.
I don't necessarily remember who said it, but there is a company that out there that engineers microtransactions, and they want to turn players into payers. Now,
okay, Sanji, if I may, name me a company that doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah, that is true. That is true. So, I mean, they were extremely bad because they were doing it on mobile games. So, while we are employing these tactics, increasing the price of the game shouldn't be... I mean, the cost for the end consumer shouldn't increase just because there's a next-gen product. You agree?
I mean, partly. I think anytime there's a significant change in hardware and operating systems and whatever else and firmware, that is additional cost that needs to come out of somewhere. And if that can be covered by an additional price increase, so be it. But what I haven't seen from this particular situation with NBA 2K21, and we haven't seen it at all really, is what are the significant changes they're making that require this? Is it really, or is this hardware set, this next gen hardware set, that much different from the previous generation? And is it also that much different from PCs? The Switch version of the game is staying the same price, and the PC version of the game is still staying the same price. It's only the Xbox Series X version and the PS5 version that is getting this $10 increase. So that's really where for me, the question is there that much more development cost incurred for this to charge that extra $10 as opposed to the previous generation version? And they really have to prove that. They have to prove that without a doubt in my mind, personally.
Right. And the thing about this particular game is that last year they introduced a roulette wheel as part of their loot box scheme. So I suppose I want to ask this with a little bit of sarcasm. Do you gentlemen think that something similar will be coming down the pipe for this year's game? Or have 2K learned their lesson? I
don't know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they did do it. They did face a lot of backlash from it when they unveiled it this year. So it's a big question of, are they really willing to take that chance to do it again? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them. But there's also a thing with the UK bill that just passed as well, where they may take loot boxes and anything resembling gambling out of the game in the first place. So, Danny?
Yeah. That I was just going to mention that the House of Lords in the UK just put out a report on gambling and the troubling connections between loot boxes and gambling, where they said, we don't have to add any extra legislation to this. We can just start enforcing rules. And I think a lot of companies are going to start looking like, okay, maybe adding something that looked like a legitimate casino wasn't a good idea. We're going to try to roll that shit back. I don't know if that's really if that's how it's going to be. I still hold the opinion that if there's any sort of gambling mechanics, that a game should be automatically rated M, especially if it has anything to do with real cash. So I hope the rating systems really affect that more than anything else.
I mean,
personally,
literally, I can hop on Grand Theft Auto 5, buy a shark card, turn that into chips, and gamble with it. I don't.
If I may, for the record, they are actually the Senate here in the United States is looking into that stuff as well, with an eye towards actually some heavy duty regulation for that.
Yeah, I believe this senator. Go ahead.
Senator. No, go ahead.
Senator Hawley, Republican from Missouri, I believe, proposed a bill.
Right. But yeah, they're looking at that bill currently in the Senate. I'm not sure how much they're going to get done between now and November, but that looks like it's going to be coming. There's a lot of the Democrats that are thinking it's actually not a bad idea either. I couldn't give you any names off the top of my head. But
yeah, I know it was co-signed and co-sponsored, which I think for them, a lot of the politicians looking at it are like, well, it's not being taxed. Let's just start taxing it. It's kind of what Hawley was looking at it too.
That's the way it works. If it moves, regulate it. When it stops moving, tax the shit out of it. But the other side, I'm really getting the idea that they may actually back off anyway, if only because regulations are going to get ugly in a hurry, and it won't be the consumer directly paying those taxes. It'll be the companies in question. Never mind that EA and a couple of the others, EA and Activision, got tax refunds this last year, which I find hilarious. So yeah, I'm going to go slink off into my corner again. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Actually, speaking of which, let's move on to our big story of the day. Devolver Digital decided to put out a little demo. Mr. Crocosquirrel, can you put that up now on the screen?
Yeah, I'm going to need about a minute or so.
Yeah.
Probably, maybe not that long. Give me a second. I'll be right with you. You guys aren't going to hear the sound, but I've been mucking around with it for the last little bit. It's got some interesting performance issues, at least on my rig.
Yeah, no, that's actually something I played through it today. It does not have great performance. In terms
of optimization, it's pretty well garbage, but yeah. There's also no save, so we're starting from scratch again.
Okay, so Devolver Digital decided. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you.
If you can focus the stream on the screen share, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah,
that way everybody can.
I'm going to.
All bags must be inspected. Nope. I just have to get into the building, and this is the only thing I can use right now. The doors are probably locked. Well, I already know the doors are locked. There we go. Now, let's see. Squirrels are stealthy today.
Yes, because this is not me playing it. This is Crocosquirrel playing it. Gentlemen, let's discuss Devolver Digital's presentation as a whole first, and then we'll go into the individual games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask you a relevant question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I played through it. It's a pretty clever little marketing trick. A game company making a game to market their games for the year. Clever enough, and I think it's definitely more eye-catching and more special than the other, oh, we're just going to recycle all the stuff that we already had for E3 this year, because they spend all year on their marketing plans and
right.
all, collecting footage and putting together all the stuff, and it's usually an all year thing, so it makes sense that they just kind of put this into a game, and it's more eye-catching, and as I said before.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, like my only real critique of this is I'm not going to necessarily remember all the little things in the game, and I don't know how many people are really going to oh yeah, no, did you hear about this, they put it in the presentation. Like, no one's going to talk about it. Like, they put a Carrion trailer in the Devolver Digital or the Devolver Land demo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to carry the same word of mouth.
Right. And Squirrel's not being stealthy.
I will say it's not like super stealthy. It's, oh shoot, robot right there. I'm gonna hit it with a t-shirt.
Yeah,
it's a t-shirt cannon, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fun because
yes, it is. That is a t-shirt cannon, and there is the actual t-shirt that comes out of it. Okay. By the way, I don't seem to have any kind of limits in terms of actual ammunition.
Nope.
Okay, now while that thing is stunned, I can't exactly take it apart this way, but I'll just give him an extra one here to be weird.
So, there's like 4 or 5 games that are involved in this presentation.
Yeah.
8 actually. Unannounced. There's 3 games they haven't announced yet that are actually part of the presentation.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Let's go down the list one by one. We have Mr. Danny K, why don't we start with the first one and move on accordingly?
Yeah. Do we want to talk about? On my list, I have Carrion. That is a 2D platformer where you play like some sort of eldritch blob going around and murking like security guards. It looks like you're like this bloody amorphous mass with tentacles and stuff. It looks pretty metal.
Mm-hmm.
Looks pretty fun. I don't know if it's necessarily one of those things that I would play, but like I know like our co-host Rev would probably really enjoy it, because it's right there in his wheelhouse in that 2D indie game pixel art kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Another one.
I hated that game. Okay.
Weird West was in here, and that's an ARPG that actually does have me interested. It's a top-down ARPG, very story-driven. They must just have a thing for like the eldritch cosmic horror kind of stuff, the arcane this year, because imagine being a cowboy in a Lovecraftian universe is kind of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Looks gorgeous. It has a kind of a blend of hand-drawn 2D 3D assets. I don't know, it looks really interesting, and they have a lot of really cool stuff involved with it.
Oh, here's the Carrion booth.
Yeah, that made me chuckle seeing the tentacle.
Security bot.
Yeah, seeing the tentacle just rip apart the security bot, that made me chuckle.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it. They also showed off Serious Sam.
Here we go. Here's the trailer for
Carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, very Eldritch, very almost The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Very spoopy.
Very spoopy.
Very spoopy, yes. Yeah, okay. I think I might actually want to try this too. Volver Digital's always, in my opinion, done really well with pixels, with pixel graphics.
Yeah.
Let me know when this gets too disturbing for you. Because I'm going to let it run.
Yeah, I'm just going to let it run too. Coming to Xbox One, PC, and Nintendo Switch, July 23rd, 2020.
What? No PS4 edition? Rude!
Hey, Paul, welcome to the stream. Yeah, it's been quite a while.
But yeah, no. Carrion looks pretty interesting. That looks pretty fun. Weird West, we were just talking about. Serious Sam also gets shown off here. That's a first-person shooter, kind of very tongue-in-cheek, Doom-like.
Yeah.
And I say Doom-like more because it's, you know, you're killing aliens and demon-looking things. It's like I said, pretty self-serious, self-aware. And then
the Weird West booth or something.
Yeah, so if you keep going through there, yeah, you'll find the Weird West booth right outside.
There we go.
Today we have
another game. Go ahead.
I'm just answering a question in the chat. Today we have Danny K, Mr. Green Elite, and Lord Crocosquirrel in the discussion today.
Yes, hello. Another game that they showed off was Olia, which is like a 2D Metroidvania kind of game.
And
West.
Yeah, here's Weird West.
Here's Weird West. Hopefully I can keep up.
Weird West. At its core, Weird West is an action RPG set in a fantasy reimagining of the Wild West.
Yeah, it does have audio. You guys aren't here. Nobody's hearing it though.
It's on a quest to
We can hear it.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
While we describe Weird West as an action RPG, some would actually refer to the game as an immersive sim. There are many elements that set Weird West apart from any other action RPG out there, and I would love to show you a few examples now. First, the simulation and sandbox nature of Weird West. All of the team is composed of co-creators of Dishonored and Prey, so simulation is like a religion to us. It is in our DNA to let the players play their own way. Weird West is designed in a way that accommodates many playstyles and many playthroughs. Whether you like combat, or trickery, or stealth, or a mix of all of that, you'll enjoy experimenting with the tools the game offers in a system-rich and physically simulated world. Next, the setting and visual direction. The setting is Weird West, you guessed it. It's an opportunity for us to explore a genre that has been kept underground, and we're excited about bringing our own take on it. As far as the visuals, we're going for a mix of 3D with hand-drawn textures and uncommon palettes that we think bring a unique style to the game.
Lots of quiet in here.
So important to the experience. Now, let's talk about how scripted versus how dynamic is the experience. While the game has a main quest, the events and the quests outside of the main path make use of what we call conductor, which creates events and crafts a narrative that is specific.
Mello is stepping aside from the W2 report for the short term. We let's just say discussions were had and he resigned.
The least. This participates to the feeling of a very tailored experience per player.
That's okay. I'm still here.
Yeah, so like this game, it's very. I hope I did it justice by describing its art style. It has an art style that has me really intrigued because I like eldritch cosmic horror kind of stuff. Say what you will about Lovecraft, but the aesthetic of Lovecraftian work
Right.
appeals to me. It has a very unique Americana feel to it, and adding that with the Wild West seems like a match made in heaven.
Yes, it does. I am impressed by this game. I might pick it up. And I might pick it up when it releases.
Mm-hmm.
And please, stay tuned for future news about Weird West.
I will actually consider doing that. I will consider it. It depends on it depends on just how that's actually going to work. Marking the objective complete. I need to get off the side here a little bit because I've got some.
Yeah, and then Olia is I would describe it as a Metroidvania from the footage. Another game that they showed off was called Fall Guys, and that's kind of a last man. It's not a battle royale, but it seems like it's a last man standing with like Wipeout, the like TV show Wipeout, where you're like having to dodge like spinning things and do platforming and stuff like that. Yeah, so this is one of those weird things that they added into this demo that I wasn't a fan of. So you have to interlink, or you have to connect all the dots using your arrow keys. And it wasn't like super intuitive. Like I sat there for like 2-3 minutes trying to figure out, okay, I'm hearing buttons bing and bop and do whatever. Like what are these buttons doing? So it took a little bit to understand that.
So how do I get it to lock this in?
So you use your I think it's your WASD to basically connect. So wherever there's not wherever there's like not a connection, you have to form a connection.
Okay, I got all the connections formed. It looks like. What the hell am I missing?
You have you're missing so if you go across, up, across.
I got it. Took a second. It took a second to. That's actually got. Oh wow. That's a walker up there. That's not a good day. Okay then. Let's get back on it. Where am I going?
Yeah, so like they kind of split it up and they do all sorts of like crawling through vents and whatever else. I don't know how I necessarily feel about all of that. I'm like, I just want to see some game trailers.
And here's
it's
a bit of
Devolver
platforming.
Digital. Yeah, but it's Devolver Digital. They're known for their wacky and zany stuff.
Well, honestly, I've seen them do worse shit, so I'm kind of okay here. That's locked. Okay. I'm looking for that walker I saw a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, I don't know if we necessarily want to watch the whole thing.
Right.
Well,
right.
When the conversation about it ends, then I'll shut the game down.
Gotcha.
That's kind of where what I'm thinking here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
So, for the record, ladies and gentlemen, here is a particular type of mechanic that I actually don't like very much, called a sawtooth. If I jump down there, I'm not going to be able to get back up. I won't be able to go back to any of the other spaces. There's actually no way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are locked. I can't go backwards now.
What were you saying, Sanji?
yeah, I think we can probably shut this down after the next trailer. What what do you guys think about this whole summer of games thing as it relates to E3 being canceled, Comic-Con being canceled, all the events being shut down that usually are reserved for announcing new games?
You know, the only thing I really dislike about it is just how spread out and how much planning you have to do to make sure you follow the news, especially if you're someone like us who, you know, we have it as our hobbies, or we take it upon ourselves to stay informed for other people. And so trying to keep up with all that is a little exhausting. I know I constantly am like writing down on little scraps of paper when I see a news article like Bandai Namco has this thing going on. I'm like, okay, great. Now I gotta like check and see if I don't watch it live, then I have to go make sure that I at least read some articles about it later. Otherwise, I think it's actually been kind of fun to not just be, the one solitary weekend of June, like it has been for years.
Right.
Green, what have you been thinking about that?
I've been. It's kind of like they kind of got to do what they got to do since E3's been, non-existent. So like, I think it's a cool idea for what they've been doing with what they have. Like I can't really say it's been bad or good either way, especially with it being like the first time they've ever had to actually do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough time for all that.
Oh, how now, brown cow?
There's like a little thing in the security booth there. You see the flashing red? Yeah, you shoot that.
Okay.
But yeah, in terms of like the summer of gaming and all the other events that are going on around it, it's been enjoyable just to see the amount of presentations, and unfortunately they all still feel like E3. This is probably the most unique out of them all, but they all still feel like E3 presentations that were put together by marketing teams over the course of a year.
Right. And with this COVID thing being hitting us the way that
the code is 2020.
Yeah, it's actually noted over there.
Go on. What were you saying, Sanji?
The thing about this is that the uniqueness of their presentations really the uniqueness of their presentations have they have to step it up a little bit, and I think that Devolver Digital has the most interesting presentation of them all. I know Ubisoft is doing their presentation as we speak. I know that we had Sony and Microsoft is going to do their presentations in like the next couple of days. Ooh.
I'm gonna try to figure out the unannounced games and see.
Oh, you're in the next hall.
Power. Oh, how do I get? Okay. Definitely got to figure out this.
Yeah, and then in this hall is the Serious Sam and the Olia. Oh, in the I'm sorry, they also showed off was it Shadow
Blightbound.
Warrior 3.
Hmm.
Which Shadow Warrior 3 looks like a bloody mess too. That looks really fun.
Yeah.
Another first person
This one
shooter.
here is called Blightbound.
Blightbound. Oh yeah. Man, I keep forgetting about all these. Yeah, so Blightbound is a 3-person dungeon crawler.
Mhm.
With team mechanics and stuff like that. That looks pretty fun. That's one if you have people who are into dungeon crawlers would probably enjoy.
I love being dungeon crawl.
And then yeah, there's Serious Sam right there too.
Yep, here's Serious Sam. Do you guys want to go? Which one do you guys want to look at? Since I've got at this point, I'm guessing 3 of them available.
It doesn't
And
matter.
The Blightbound. Oh, we gotta get Blightbound and Aliha here anyway. So why don't we do Blightbound real quick? There we go. Because they've actually, as far as I know, we've only actually got 5 that we're worried about. So
Yeah. So, gentlemen, I'm sorry for cutting this particular topic short. What do you think about the summer of gaming overall?
I've been enjoying it myself. It's like I said, the only inconvenience is that there's just so many events and that each company has to take it upon themselves to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. It's been fun to see what's happening, what's going on. It's not something I could really frown upon.
I'm actually wondering if
everything's
this
going on.
going to come up with its bullshit. that ought to be entertaining.
Yeah.
We've actually got another Sony show, don't we? Because I know we had a Microsoft and a Sony show when E3 was supposed to happen. We've got more shows for
Sony and Microsoft. I know Sony is supposed to announce the price of the PlayStation 5 as of tomorrow.
Okay, that ought to be interesting, especially if we don't have, especially if they don't have Microsoft's price tag. And that was actually a short story, so we're going to do that.
I'm trying to think.
Complete, it says.
Fallout 76 2 when? I have no idea.
Well, because Ubisoft is going on right now as we speak. I'm trying to think of what other companies we're missing. Capcom. I don't think we've heard anything. We've gotten.
Hear anything out of Capcom? We're certainly not going to hear anything out of Konami.
No.
Square Enix, we're looking for that one still.
Yeah, Square Enix. We haven't gotten a real Nintendo Connect. We've gotten Pokemon Connects, but we haven't gotten like an actual Nintendo. Here's what's coming up for Nintendo this year event. I'm waiting to see for that. We got a Bandai Namco one. And then there's another one that I know we're getting that I don't remember off the top of my head. I think we're also supposed to get another Stadia Connect. The Stadia Connect that happened back in May just was very underwhelming. Wasn't like that great. They really didn't show off much, and they didn't address anything that would make Stadia seem like a good pickup for anybody. So we're still waiting on those things.
Honestly, given the state of the service at this point, I can't imagine it being particularly overwhelming. Stadia was just bad to begin with. I mean, that's been my opinion. On top of you're just renting this, you don't get to download any of it. Why am I paying 60, 70, 80 bucks for a game when I'm not going, and if by some chance I don't actually have access to Stadia anymore, or the Stadia servers, I don't get to keep that. That's a lot of money to be putting out for nothing.
Yeah.
And the subscription model, don't even get me started on those.
immediately face hand
Yeah,
to hand.
and those were very similar sentiments to what we discussed on our show during the last Stadia Connect.
Give you additional power, including
Not consumer friendly is what is my verdict here. Stadia to begin with wasn't particularly consumer friendly. And by the way, Aliyah is actually the correct pronunciation. You had it right the first time.
Excellent.
major boss. Introduces a
Yeah,
new
I mean,
character
there's a few more trailers in the game. I don't know if we want to watch all the trailers or leave some of that up for your viewers to watch on their own.
Yeah, we're gonna
I-
we're gonna leave the rest of them
I
off.
think we probably want to do. I was hoping to leave this one off on Serious Sam, if I'm being honest.
Okay,
Okay.
we can watch Serious Sam and then we'll bugger off on that. So gentlemen, what does the state of gaming in 2020 with the coronavirus and all that have changed? How did it change? And did it become better for us as the end user?
Well, it certainly became more popular for us to see it.
Oh golly gee, that's a big question because there's obviously, I mean, gaming already, became the largest media industry in globally. I mean, it surpassed film and television a while ago. I think the biggest change has really been how people see gaming as a value. People already had hobbies. They went out to go, play basketball with their friends. They went out to, sports games. They went out to concerts and shows, theaters and all that stuff. And really, what I think has changed, gaming has really changed, is it's a way to experience social connections when we're not able to, with all the virtual concerts and stuff on Fortnite, or I think Korn did a WoW concert. This new method of entertaining yourself in the comfort of your home, I think has been the biggest change. And I think companies seeing that natural insertion of their own brands into that is going to be the biggest change we see out of this.
I think Serious Sam is behind you.
It is. I'm poking my nose around to make sure so I know what the security looks like in the next room.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna get Serious Sam here in about 15 seconds. Ooh, what's this? Swag bag.
Swag bag. Swag.
Oh, an improved gun.
No. Now that is a BFG.
I feel like a BAMF carrying it around.
Oh.
Can I swap this? No, I can't. Damn.
No.
They won't let us destroy that.
It's just pretty stuff to look at.
There goes your monetization, by the way, Sanji.
Yeah, there it goes. Actually, I never even had it to begin with, but there's that.
I don't know. I figured YouTube's probably going to take mine away at some point. Not that it's actually worth it. They get to keep less than $100.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this looks just like a bloody fun mess.
Yes, I agree.
I like, I love the really over the top Doom, Killing Floor 2, just the guts and grimy, and they're just hilarious to me.
Break out the unlimited ammo.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably going to get copyright claimed anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That all you have to do is complain. All you would really have to do at that point is to complain to Punk. Complain to Devolver, and they just take it away.
So, yeah, that's the Serious Sam one. I thought that was really fun.
And funnily enough, apparently I haven't scoured everything because I've got a piece for game 1 and another one for game 4 now. Or game 3.
If I can direct the conversation back to your question there, Sanji.
Yeah.
Green, what were you thinking on Corona and how it changed gaming?
I think the gaming itself hasn't really changed. It's more of like the way we've been gathering information has changed. Like with press releases and E3 and all these big events being canceled, it's definitely like how we're getting it has definitely evolved to, make that market come to you, versus like E3 where people go to conventions and stuff like that. And the amount of people actually playing has definitely increased as well, with the everything being essentially moot and canceled. So it's definitely increased that, and then changed the information. That's everything else. Just I think has really been the same when it comes to actually gaming and content creation and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, it's actually advantaged those who can gather the information and process it faster than anybody else that really wins out. I kind of hate to leave it at that, gentlemen, but we are running a little bit behind. We're running a little short of time. So, gentlemen, do you happen to have any final thoughts? Just any various things about the university you want to share with us, share with the audience today?
No, not really. I think we covered everything in the gaming universe. I feel qualified to talk on right now.
Right.
I can't find your two biz. Fuck it. I don't care.
So, with that said, that has been Danny K. That's Mr. Green Elite. I am Sanji Himura. I'd like to thank you all for watching this little stream. And stay tuned for the next W2 Report Live. We are ironing out details for that particular subject. And I believe we are going to talk Ubisoft next week, Croc?
Ubisoft works for me.
All right.
Seems like a good idea.
All right, and I will see you guys in the next video or live stream. Catch me whenever on YouTube, and we will see you guys then.